In Lesson 11.2, you will construct a histogram and analyze data in histograms. A histogram is a type of bar graph that organizes or chunks the data into equal intervals. In our first example, it says choose intervals and make a frequency table of the data shown, then construct a histogram to represent the data. Well, if this is the length of movies, we're going to go and chunk it into groups with an interval of 30. So we're going to put all the movies that were 81 to 110 minutes long right here in this category, then 111 to 140 in the next one, and so on. So I'm going to start by tallying up this data. 135, 89, 142, 219, 96, 144, 104, 135, 94, 155, 106, 127, 134, 116, 91, 118, 138, 118, 110, and 101. So there were 8 movies total that were 81 to 110 minutes long. There were 8 movies that were 111 to 140 minutes long, 3 movies that were 141 to 170 minutes long, 0 that were 171 to 200 minutes long, and 1 movie that was between 201 and 230 minutes long. Now to make a histogram, you want to start by drawing your X and Y axis, and then you'll want to make sure to include a title and labels and equal intervals. Basically, your intervals that you chose to use in your frequency table is what's going to go along the bottom. And then how often it occurred is what's going to go on the side. So let's go ahead now and start our first category, 81 to 110. That was a total of 8 movies. So I'm going to make a big wide bar make that a little bit bigger. So this bar right here was for the number of movies that were between 81 and 110 minutes long, and there were 8 of them. Our next bar is going to go right next to that one. It's actually going to touch that one, and that one is also going to go up to 8. Our next bar was for the 141 to 170, and that's going to go up to 3. And then 171 to 200, there weren't any there, so we're going to leave that one flat. And then there was 1 from 201 to 230. So there's our histogram. The bars are wide and touch, and you need to have equal intervals, and make sure to remember a title and labels. Now our next examples have to do with analyzing and interpreting data in histograms. Question number 2 says, how many Cincinnati Reds players were at bat at least 400 times in 206? So if we want at least 400 times, right over here was 400 or more. So this bar was representing 5 players, and this bar is representing 2 players. So the total number of players that were at least 400 would have been 5 plus 2, which equals 7. There were 7 players that were at bat at least 400 times. Now, what percent of the players were at bat 199 times or fewer? Well, 199 or fewer would include these 2 bars right here. This one goes up to 17 players, and this one is 4 players. So 17 plus 4 is 21. There were 21 players. But now we have to figure out what percent that is. So we need to look at how many total there were altogether. So we have 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, plus 5 more. That's 29 total players. So there were 21 of them out of 29. To write 21 out of 29 as a percent, you would do 21 divided by 29. 21 divided by 29, that's going to equal about 0.7241 and some more numbers. Now to write it as a percent, you'd move the decimal over 2 places, so it's about 72%. What was the greatest number of times at bat of any one player? Well, for this, we really can't answer. We can't answer this question because this doesn't give the individual number of at-bats for each player. This just tells how many players there are in each one of these intervals. So we don't know what the greatest number of times. We know it's going to be somewhere between 500 and 599. It's going to be somewhere in here, but we don't know exactly where, so we cannot answer that question. Next one, based on the data above, how many times is a Cincinnati Reds player most likely to be at bat? Well, this happened the most often, so this is what we would expect, is that most likely they would be at bat between 0 and 99 times. There were only a few that were higher than that. Most of them were between 0 and 99.